So, welcome to another Leave a Legacy live stream. Yes, for our amazing family here at Legacy X. It's so amazing to see that, yes, we crossed 400 members. Can you believe that? When we started just a couple of months ago, when we added up the first, the 10, the 50, the 100, and now we have 400 strong members. And I'll come to the speaker today who is joining us is actually a 400 member to actually join this group as well. So just stay tuned for that. But I really want to acknowledge each and every one of you for playing full out, especially during our other live streams where we had Andy Selman from Rest and Rhythm, we had Ziggy from 3P share their heart, and you were playing full out with all those questions. So please feel free to reach out to them. They've got the links underneath the event. So please reach out to them. If you got more questions in regarding building a legacy or beyond that hustle, the one which Andy took last week. So as always, you know our three pillars that we stand for. Number one is becoming a person of influence. It's so important that if you are employed or if you're even an entrepreneur or just looking to transition from being employed, from quitting that rat race of 9 to 5 and getting into the entrepreneurship bus, it's always about building that key person of influence. And how do we do that? We train you, we teach you, we coach you through this community, especially through the leadership roundtable that we run every month. So if you want to know more about those leadership roundtable, please feel free to reach out to me. Let's understand where you're at and if it's the right next step for your career, or it's for, let's say, career progression, or you're looking for a promotion, or you're looking to be a speaker, or you're looking to start a business, right? So we're doing at the moment Put Your Dream to the Test, which is a John C. Maxwell book where we go through the ownership question, we're going through the clarity question, and today we are going through deep diving into that as well. So please feel free to reach out. So that's our first pillar, becoming a key person of influence. And then the second pillar is all about high performance and high performing leadership. So what does entail to be a high performing leader? So we go through that in detail, and hence the reason why I've been running a couple of sessions on communication. I've been running a few sessions on what does success actually mean? What is it to be a true leader? So we went through that as well. And then finally, the last pillar is all about global connections and network. So please ensure you use Mondays, promo Mondays, to actually promote your business, promote yourself, and just start connecting, because you want to connect with like-minded businesses, like-minded individuals who can actually align to your vision and to your growth. So that brings me to my special guest that we have here, who is none other than our 400th member of our legacy group, which is Samantha Jansen. She's a very dear friend of mine, and she is a coach. She's a business owner, and she also runs the you could literally the renewed wellness the company, right? So she has built a couple of businesses, and I wanted you to hear it from her as well, as she shares her heart of starting from a business and now being a mom of two, and being a Christian, being a kingdom business owner in this day and age, and the reason why she started the renewed wellness as well. So Samantha, welcome to our amazing Leave a Legacy live stream.
Amazing, Joby. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here. And who knew I was the 400th member? Lucky me.
Absolutely, right. So I think it was all in the plan and the vision for you to take that plaque, to get that award, and here we are, literally putting you on the, giving it to you as a recognition, but also now you're serving it back to the community by sharing your heart and your soul as well. So if you don't mind, if I could ask that question of what you've been in that publishing world for years and for nearly a decade, right? But if I could ask, share some of that journey as well, but what inspired you to start the renewed wellness company, and how is it different from all the other ventures that you've had?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joby. Yeah, so I've been in the publishing space, helping aspiring authors publish books for almost 10 years. And during the pandemic, I don't know whether you recall, Joby, but we all went through a pandemic about 5 years ago. Um,
Absolutely.
and during the pandemic, I was actually studying counseling, and that was just to add to my toolbox, given I have a coaching background. And I thought, you know what, it would be really great for me to be able to see a different side and how to manage emotions and various other things. So I studied counseling. I graduated as a counselor at the end of 2021. And this was where I sort of struck a point where I was like, well, I don't think I want to be a practicing counselor. I definitely know I want to use the tools from coaching and counseling to do something different. And to be honest with you, at the end of 2021, I didn't have a clear vision. It was really about pressing into my faith and really going, Lord, what does this next season look like? I don't have a full picture. I get a sense of where you're leading me, but where is this? And it was through a lot of prayer and seeking Him in the quiet seasons. I'll talk a little bit about that, a little bit more about that a little bit later on, but it was really prayer and quiet time in that season of going, this is a quiet season. I don't have clarity, but I'm going to pray into this. And I was given the word, the renewed wellness. And at the first, I was like, oh, renewed because I feel like I'm renewed. You know, I've got a new qualification, I'm on a journey, I'm seeking. Okay, I can sense how renewed is. And then to be honest, when I thought of the word renewed wellness, I was like, well, yes, I'm a coach. Yes, I'm a counselor, but I'm also a book publisher. That's sort of been my journey for the longest time. Like, how does this all come together? And again, it was probably about 3 to 4 months of really pressing into a lot of fasting and praying. I'm a big believer of fasting and praying because I believe it takes away the human desires of so many other things, given there are so many distractions in the world. But when you fast and pray, I think something shifts on another level. So it was through fasting and praying over a season that I got a clear vision that the Renewed Wellness Company would support individuals, people that are working the 9 to 5, or business owners that are really looking in to live out their life purpose, but in a conscious way and driven with an underpinning foundation of faith. So a little bit different because when you think of renewed wellness, you're like, is it more meditation? Is it journaling? Is it, what is it? It's really a way of life, and it is grounded by 3 core principles in around a framework that I've created. So the renewed wellness essentially is a program designed to journey with individuals for 13 weeks and to get you from where you are to where you want to go with clear direction. So it is a bit of coaching, a bit of counseling, but it is very much an action driven, task oriented program for individuals that want to live out their life purpose using biblical principles. So yeah, that's essentially what got me started, and here we are a few years later wearing 2 hats.
Absolutely. And because I see the Renewed Life book behind you, and
Yes.
I've got that, you could say the first chapter, you know, so Unmuted and Renewed. And thank you so much for giving me one of those books. And it's just amazing that how you share those journey, those struggles, because sometimes people are not that vulnerable and especially transparent in terms of the origin story. Like everybody sees the glory, everybody sees Samantha's glory at the moment, but behind every glory, there's a story. And it's so good to see and read that as well, Sam. So thanks for sharing. And you were talking about a framework, right? So please shed us some light about that unique framework that you use in your work, and can you give us a glimpse of how it looks like and how does it actually help the people that you serve?
Yeah, absolutely. So the framework is, what I might do is actually, let me show you something. Grab the book, might make sense. So in the book, I actually share it as a visual. So visual is always good, isn't it? Not sure whether it's super clear, but that's essentially, it's 3 circles. And what the 3 circles are: awakened, awareness, and achieve. So the best way to explain it in a simplified way that I often say to a lot of people when I'm talking is, when you think of these, when you go, oh, awakened, awareness, achieved, but awakened and awareness is kind of the same thing. It's like, no, no, not quite. So picture this. Your alarm clock goes off in the morning and you wake up, right? We know that when the alarm goes subconsciously and consciously, alarm goes, whether it's a clock or a phone, we smack it and we get up, right? So we're awake. And from there, depending on what you do, whether, you get up and go to the bathroom or you go turn on a light, whatever it is that you do, you are awake and you start doing things because that's just how humans are, right? We're somewhat unaware and robotic. So you're awake, but do you have awareness to what is exactly playing out in your life in that moment? Let's say you wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. In that first hour, are you fully aware and are you consciously making decisions that are going to help you to become the best version of yourself? So you're awake, but are you fully aware? So I take you from, let's look at every aspect of your life, whether that is in your career, whether that's in parenting, relationships, your job, your business, whatever. What are you awake to? But do you have the awareness? And then we look at, now that you have the awareness, are you doing actionable items to help you achieve the outcome? And the biggest struggle is the awareness to achieve part. The awaken to awareness is not that hard because people are like, yeah, I get up, I have a shower, I get ready, I'm ready to take on the day. Great. However, have you made conscious decisions to start your day, to start your morning in a systematic way that is going to help you achieve the long-term goals? Not just, I just need to get through, just get to work, just get on the computer, I've got a 9 o'clock meeting. No, 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 no. How are you doing that? What is that awareness piece? So it's often a big struggle and it can be quite confronting, but this is where the coaching and the counseling come into play to really look at what sort of languaging we use, what sort of habits we have from the time we wake up till we do our first actionable item. Because a lot of us, I would put my hand up and say, being a parent, raising a teenager and an almost teenager, it can be very robotic in the morning if you have a young family, or you're caring for aged parents, or you have dependent loved ones, right? It can be quite robotic. But this is where that awakened and awareness come into play. So you start making different choices, tweaking your habits a little bit. That's going to help you then create some patterns and strategies to achieve what you want in the long term. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight to where awakened, awareness, and achieve come into play.
Absolutely. I love the three framework or the models. It just kind of brings your entire teachings or learnings into that simple or visual model. And especially in this day and age, people would love to see that in action as well. So, and that's what leads me to my next question, Sam. What kind of transformation do you aim to achieve or to create for your clients, whether through renewed wellness? So maybe some examples so that our audience can actually understand in terms of what kind of transformation they could actually create for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give you two. I'll keep them short. So one is really looking at how you're doing relationships and your communication. So often with the clients I work with, they're either stuck in their job or in their business where they're not quite growing and they're not really hitting that next step because they're struggling to communicate what they want to achieve. And that is that awareness and achieve the gap, right? So then we look at what are you currently letting slide in terms of your conversations. You're having difficult conversations, but are you addressing the issues? Let's do a bit of role playing in terms of, what did you hear? What did you process? How did you facilitate that conversation back? And that's something that I see a lot with business owners and team members that are sort of going, oh, it's not that difficult, but I'm really stuck here. It's like, no, let's address the communication part. So something that I see constantly happening is the relationship dynamic, whether that's personal or professional, and the communication. So we address the style of communication, but also how we set boundaries. The other side, and this is going to sound a little bit sexist, but bear with me, I find with a lot of females when I work with them, because I would say 60 to 70% of my clientele is females. And one of the things that they really struggle with is communicating what they want to achieve to their loved one or to their spouse. So they go, you know what, I do so much, but he doesn't see it, and I don't feel valued. So it's not really looking at the blame factor. I look at, what do you actually embody as a woman, and how are you communicating that? A lot of my work is to do with the internal patterns one has carried on, whether it's male or female. It's the, what sort of patterns are you holding on to, and how are you communicating? Because to achieve what you want, as much as there is action required, there's a lot of communication that is required. So the first part is relationships and communication. The second part of, I suppose, the transformation is really going, do you know what you want, and can you communicate that? So for an example, if I was to give you an example with one of them, a business owner, right? They're really stuck. They've got a great team, but they're really struggling with that growth. One of the things that they could do is asking, let's say, their team of 5 or team of 10, sitting with them individually for, let's say, 15, 20 minutes, not long, lengthy meetings, because that's a killer of all things. I'll always go, quick and effective meetings are a good one. 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops, asking that team member, what do you love about the job? What can I do better? And what is the one thing that actually triggers you that you want to stop doing, like right now? When you get to the core of that, guess what? You show them respect, and they understand where you're going. And then you can be vulnerable in that space, depending on who the team member is, and say, hey, the reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to make a few changes, and I'm looking to see where you might be wanting to step into, but also what I need to stop doing, so I can really show you that I'm committed to this long-term journey in having you in the team. So it's, again, the relationship part, but great communication, but also figuring out what triggers someone and how you can be vulnerable. So that's one side of it from a professional capacity, business owner, or I suppose even a manager and a team member. When you take I spoke about a female that might be struggling to communicate. It's really sitting down with your loved one, your husband, your spouse, whatever you might call that individual, and saying, look, I'm feeling really frustrated with X, Y, and Z. I was wondering whether we can have a chat about X, Y, and Z, because I'm hoping you might be able to support me in achieving ABC. Do you see how I'm asking for support, and I'm asking for a conversation rather than putting a blame on someone? So my awareness is very high, and my languaging is coming together to enable me to achieve the outcome I want. Does that sort of make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. No, it does. And I love the communication. I guess in all of this, the underlining thread is communication and awareness. And it's also similar to the do, delegate, delete as well. So if it adds value to you, do it. If it doesn't add value to you, it adds value to someone, delegate. And if it doesn't add value to you or to others, just delete it, but communicate, right? And so I think that is the awareness and being intentional about it. So thanks, Sam, for sharing that transformation, because it kind of brings it to life for our amazing team here. So if I could also ask, because you said there are people who are stuck, right? So because many people struggle to take that first step towards healing or self-expression, right? So what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck?
The first part would be, is you either find a close friend that you trust, and having a conversation about your feelings. It's really important to have friends that validate your feelings, not dismiss them. Because often when we go to a friend and we say, oh, I'm feeling like this. Yeah, I know it's been a rough day. That's not quite what needs to play out. It's like, tell me what's going on. You want one of those friends. So first thing is get a really good friend that says, tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what's going on. I'm here to listen. If you don't have one of those friends, my suggestion is go see a counselor. Counselors are not scary. I promise you, they are friendly people. And there are a lot of options when it comes to counseling where you don't have to be in therapy, as I call it. It's more about an open conversation that gives you realistic suggestions and tools, because counselors are there to facilitate a conversation and give you recommendations. They don't tell you what to do. So my step is, everybody needs a friend that would listen and go on the journey, that is using encouraging languaging and that can support you emotionally. Now, for those of you that are married, if you're going, but my husband or my wife needs to be that, actually, no. Yes, they do need to be your emotional person, but we're at a point in, I think, in society where we think we need our better half to be everything. They need to be the cook, the cleaner, the driver, the caretaker, the therapist, the coach, the counselor, everything. And I'm like, no, we're all human beings with strengths and weaknesses. And if you put every aspect of your life where you need support on your better half, there's going to be a bit of friction. This is why there are therapists. So, as much as it's important to communicate with your husband and wife and lean on them, it's equally important to say to them, hey, I'm feeling like this, but I think I'm going to go talk to a counselor. I just thought I'll share that with you. The reason being is you want to take the pressure off, and you also want to have a different insight that you can then go, okay, this is what's playing out. This is some of the suggestions and recommendations that we tried. Because if you're only relying on your better half to support you emotionally and mentally, there is only so much that they can offer you based on their life experience and their professional background. And this is where a lot of times I see a lot of couples going, oh, they just don't hear me. They don't validate me. Yeah, because they're really good at some things, and now you want them to be your therapist when they can't be your therapist. So my thing is, start with a confident, having a friend that you can confide in and hear you emotionally. And if you don't have that friend, that is okay. It's time to see a counselor and get some help. And there's quite a lot of resources out there. So, yeah.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there are the Christian Counselors Association as well. So if anybody wants to look for any specific ones as well, I'm sure we can put all the links below, Sam. So we could maybe just below, so we can share that as well. So because you said about someone wearing many hats, right? You wear many hats. You wear the hat of author, coach, counselor, business owner, publisher. So how do you actually stay grounded and aligned with your purpose? Because many times people come back, I don't know what my purpose is. I know I've been called for many seasons wearing different hats, but how do you actually stay grounded and aligned with your purpose, Sam?
Absolutely. I love that question. The first thing is, every single week I have time out where I call it God and me time. And that is where I completely switch off from social media, from parenting, and all the responsibilities that I have for about 3 to 4 hours consciously. Now, this is often done first thing in the morning for me because I'm an early riser, and I actually don't spend it at home most of the time. There are some times where I might get up really early and have that time at home, but generally I like to go to the beach and sit there pretty early in the morning. I'm talking around 6 o'clock in the morning before it gets overly busy or anything. And I enjoy quiet time, no devices. I might have a notebook and a pen just to jot down whatever comes my way. But that is sort of my way of completely switching off to rest and recharge my mind, body, and just from a spiritual sense, I find that time really gives me the opportunity to hear what God is saying. And sometimes He doesn't talk, and that's okay. I just enjoy that absolute stillness. So there is no social media and there's no music. So I don't listen to anything. If I'm sitting at the beach, even I do this even in winter, with the exception, of course, if it's raining, I don't do that. That's the time I probably spend more time at home. But I choose to go. I want to listen to the sounds in the atmosphere as opposed to music or worship. That's the first thing. The second part is I'm big on praying about all the decisions I make. I will put my hand up and say I have run businesses without seeking God, in terms of going, you know what, I go to church, I say my prayers, I read my Bible. I don't need to run an idea past God. I have been there, done that. The pandemic was my wake up. So 5 years ago, I was in a really tough position. Uh, Being a business owner, being a parent, and all that came with it, I realized with my business decisions, I needed to check in and run it past God in a prayerful way. So now the way that I stay in check to where I'm being led is going, Lord, this is on my heart. What do I do? And I just leave it. I don't come up with any strategies. I don't come up with any ideas. I just leave it and I let that sit for as long as it needs. Sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's been quite a few months, Joby. And I have to learn to be patient. I'm still learning that. I haven't got that down pat. I'm learning. I'm a work in progress myself.
Think we're all work in progress, Sam. But being a good friend, you've been sharing that journey, and in times of really submitting yourself to God, and that's the story behind renewed wellness. You know, the word that He proclaimed, and this year as you journey forward, right? Just it's amazing to see that happening, right? So all that patience that you showed, it's just that clarity that you get through your journey, and I would say that rest that you've actually submitted first to Christ. So I think that's just amazing, Sam. So I know we're all about legacy. So let's talk about legacy, Sam. So what does it actually mean to you personally and professionally about leaving a lasting legacy?
Yeah, I must say I love that you brought up legacy, because legacy is really important to me. When I first started out in business about 10 years ago, it was honestly, I just wanted to get out of the 9 to 5. I had been in the corporate sector, had a really good job in the finance superannuation sector, had annual leave and paid for amazing holidays. It was great. And when I got out and started a business, I wanted freedom and I wanted lots of money. I will admit that. But as I progressed and I invested time in personal and professional development, I realized that it was not money that I was after. I was after making a difference and showing my children that you could do work that fulfills you, and ultimately that leaves a legacy. As the time has progressed, for me, legacy has evolved a little bit, I would say. And for me, legacy now is building two businesses that ultimately, regardless of whether my children play a part in it or not, it's really about setting up my children and their children and the generations to come financially, but also leaving a significant impact. So when my time is up and it's all over for Samantha, I want to be remembered as somebody that made a difference and contributed to people's lives, but also left behind, I would say, a setup financially, but also impact driven for my children and their generation. So that's what legacy means to me.
That's so amazing. I love impact driven. I love, supporting the next gen, but also giving them financially. So you need to create a financial stability for our children. So that leads me to our next question, right? So, what is that one piece of advice or life lesson you would want to leave behind for the next generation? So, imagine you're talking to Savi or Sierra, right? The next generation of leaders. And so, what is that one piece of advice for them? They could be creators, they could be entrepreneurs, they could be publishers, they could be authors. So what is that one piece of advice or life lesson you would want to leave with them?
Yeah, that's so interesting. You said that. If I was saying to Sabia Sierra just last week, I think it was like maybe 3, 4 days ago, at the dinner table, I was actually talking to Sierra. So my daughter is in grade 10 and she's in on that journey where she's got to start thinking about, what decisions she makes is going to have an impact on what subjects she chooses. Ultimately, in 2 years, that uni entrance, all of that. And the one thing that her dad and I said when we were talking to her individually was, it's okay if you make a wrong choice and you end up studying something and then not liking it. I think the big thing that I have learned, if I was to share, from when I started out as a young adult to where I am now, looking at the last 20 years, I'm nowhere on that path from where I started, but I can see how that starting point led me right here. So my one piece of advice is, if you want to try something and explore something that makes your heart sing, or you have this gut feel that you're like, I really want to try exploring this or studying this or doing this program, or maybe I think I can sing, whatever that might be, go try it. Don't worry about the people that say, oh, but you're qualified in this and you're really good at that. Yeah, fabulous. You're great at that. But what is stopping you from going and trying something else? So my whole thing that I said to Sierra was, go try it. If it doesn't work, we love you. We're going to support you. And even if we are not the ones championing you, you'll always have somebody backing you up. But above all, remember, you're a child of God. He's got you. So my one piece of advice is, if you want to go try something or change courses, particularly if you are in a job that you've been doing for 10 or 15 years and you're like, I love it, it pays the bills, but I think I want to make a change, start making small changes now, just small changes, doing your research on whatever else that you're interested in, and go explore that, because you will be surprised as to what can ignite within you, and you might just discover something that was there all along. So yeah.
That's amazing, because that's what we all know as parents. We need to create a safe environment for our children to fail, right? So I love that when you say that, go make the choices, and it could be the right one, it could be not the right one, and sharing your journey, your story, and myself as well, right? Moving from corporate to now working for non-for-profit, and now doing legacy, right? Legacy X. So it's all that journey that we have, and that's what we see from Joseph, from Abraham, from Moses. So how where they started is not where they actually finished up, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually sharing those principles as well. I think that's amazing. So Sam, what's next for you and the Renewed Wellness Company? Any exciting projects or dreams on the horizon?
Yeah, so every year we run an annual conference in September for the Renewed Wellness Company, but this year we're not quite doing that. We're working on a smaller a smaller project. We're not ready to share that yet, because obviously from a conference we've kind of gone, yeah, there's a lot of conferences. We want to do something a little bit more intimate. So we're working on something that will bring together people in a more intimate setting, and share the framework a little bit differently. So more about that later in the year. That will come out towards the end of May. So
Yep. Absolutely. And you're part of our community, our family. So I'm sure we'll get to hear more about it, Sam. But thank you so much for sharing. And last question, how can people get in touch with you? And if you could feel free to share anything that is on your mind, especially from the group coaching, the offer that you were mentioning. If is there anything that you would want to offer to our Legacy X community?
yeah, I mean, look, I'm on LinkedIn. So if you're using LinkedIn, let's connect. Make sure you say hi, because I love somebody that connects and says hi. I'm one of those people that love to say hi back. And if you want to check me out, my website is samanthajansen.com.au, and all that I get up to is on that website. But otherwise, find me on LinkedIn. I'm across all social media, but I think LinkedIn might be the quickest way to connect. Yeah, otherwise Facebook or Instagram too. But yeah, just Samantha Jansen and you'll find me.
Absolutely. And we'll put the links below on this event as well. So you'll definitely find that. But thank you so much, Sam, for being our 400th member of our community, but also for sharing your heart, your soul, your purpose behind who you are. And especially now we know, when we see Renewed Wellness, we know what's the journey, what's the story that took you here, and can't wait for the exciting news and the projects that's going to come up. So thank you so much for serving our community and being part of our community, Sam. Thank you so much for today.
Oh, good. Thank you for having me, Joby, and thank you for watching, guys.
Take care. See ya.